All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Brian. This is AAMI News and Conversation, and we're here during Sterilization Standards Week 2025, the fall edition. So we're closing this year out in a good way, which means there's a lot of really cool projects that are in process here. And we're here with Jami McLaren to talk about a project that some of our more regular viewers might be familiar with already, but we have a lot of progress on that side of things. So let's talk today about those material compatibility tables that you've been working on, Jami. Before we do that, tell me a little bit about yourself. Why are you working on this project? Who are you?
Yeah, so I've been involved in AAMI standards for about 10 years or so, and I really got involved in the Working Group 96, which is concerned with compatibility of materials subject to sterilization, area that's very near and dear to my heart. Worked a lot on the previous two revisions of TIR17, which covers a lot about material compatibility with sterilization. I'm also a member of the Kilmer collaboration teams, co-leading the Kilmer materials team, which is part of where this database that we're going to talk about came out of.
And we love seeing those groups, by the way, the Kilmer groups, because there's a lot of, I guess it's the academic beating heart or the source of fuel that goes into the engine that is standards development, right? We get all these very cool studies, and then they wind up showing up in annexes, etc. But TIR17 was that reference document. For those who don't know, it's a technical information report, a really cool reference document that a lot of people use when starting to develop a medical device. Is that right?
Yeah, one of, like we've talked about here a lot over the years, one of the most important things in developing a medical device that's going to be sterilized is making sure that that device still functions after sterilization, that it can meet its functional specifications, deliver its intended patient care. And as materials evolve, as sterilization modalities evolve, that question becomes maybe more and more complex. And the TIR is a great reference to answer a lot of those questions that people have.
I remember the first time we talked to you, we had the very buzzworthy title, which was basically sterilize it, don't melt it.
Yes.
Because devices can melt if you sterilize it with the wrong stuff. So that's all very important, obviously. But now we have something spinning off from already a well-established standard, one that had just been recently revised to be the new state of the art. Why are we doing this? What's going on with this project?
Yeah, great question. So it really started in the Kilmer modalities and materials group way back in about 2019 when these groups were early. And one of the outputs of those initial discussions was, hey, wouldn't it be great to have an online database that people could share and access information on compatibility of materials subject to sterilization, something that was maybe more real-time and more quickly revised than a TIR, which can take maybe 3 or 4 years between revisions. But I think it really got a new meaning as the most recent revision of TIR17 came about. So as we've talked about in here before, one of the big revisions or big aspects of the revision of TIR17 was we completely rebuilt the compatibility annexes that make up the end of that document, basically creating a much more substantial and robust way of generating those ratings that, as we found by talking to people, that were some of the most commonly and most frequently used aspects of the TIR. So very important things there. And as we did that, it became obvious that for some materials and some sterilization modalities, there might not have been a lot of information. There were holes. And so, thinking about, this database that we've been talking about for a few years, I think would be a great way to supplement and add new information. So when the next revision of the TIR does come up, we have all this information that we can use to support the new ratings in these compatibility tables.
That's very cool. So it's you said real-time information flowing in. I'm assuming that the people who are working on this project are all subject matter experts who are going to be reviewing and curating this information as it's put together. What's it going to look like?
Yeah, so I think there's going to be 3 main sections that we really want to focus on making as valuable as possible. So the first one is about the actual test samples that are used to generate the data. So again, as much detail as possible in terms of device components, material types, specific grades of material, all the things that are going to be important to establishing this data. The second area is the sterilization exposure. So even within a given modality, one sterilization cycle might produce much different results than another. So capturing that variability and detailing that as much as possible is going to be very critical. And then third comes to the results that are presented. So we want as much detail as possible in terms of the results. So that might be color changes, physical changes, chemical changes, things like that, as well as the test methods that are used to create those are going to make this data as valuable as possible to the user going forward.
Gosh, this sounds incredibly valuable if I were somebody who's starting out to design a device. Maybe I'm an innovator, et cetera. But what about the big manufacturing companies? Is this also a resource that they would need, or do they already have this information siloed away in their own company?
Yeah, I mean, if they do have it, we don't know about it, and of course, we're not going to ask any company, big or small, to share anything proprietary.
That's what I was wondering.
But I think the goal is to encourage people to generate as much data as they can without crossing that line into proprietary. So, things like how sterilization modalities interact with with certain materials. As long as it's not specific to a proprietary device specification, we'd like you to share that, and that's what we're going to encourage as we get this database up and running.
That's really interesting too, because it sounds like it's bringing things a little bit closer to being device specific, or at least device type specific, as opposed to specifically just about materials as we see in TIR17. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it is. And, one of the things that, I've always said as I've, led Working Group 96, the title of TIR17 is Compatibility of Materials Subject to Sterilization. But if you were to poll the audience, the medical device manufacturers are not selling sterile materials, they're selling sterile devices. And that's always a line that's going to be there and we're always going to have to deal with. But I think, if we can kind of look at it in that context and push the information as close to that proprietary line without crossing it, of course, that's the goal here.
Yeah, yeah. And it sounds like the end result would be less mistakes are made, so more safety and less money spent or wasted, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about more efficient ways of innovating. As products get more technologically advanced and new sterilization modalities come out, all this information is going to be critical. So that's our goal, is to support the people that are working on things like that.
The sharing of information. That's great. If somebody wanted to get involved, do they have to start with the AAMI standards group, or can they reach out to you to get involved in a different way? How's that going to work?
Yeah, I think you can go through AAMI.
Okay.
The goal is to have this database eventually supported and hosted by AAMI in conjunction with TIR17. Perhaps that's all still being worked out. But yeah, if someone has data or wants to participate, they can start by contacting AAMI, and AAMI can get them connected with the Kilmer materials group. And we're always happy to talk to people who are willing to produce and share this type of data.
I love it. So if that sounds like something that you want to be involved in, or you have information that you want to share with this awesome group, you can reach out to standards@aami.org. That's standards with an S, and we'll take it from there. But Jami, what are the next steps now? I know that this project, it seems like we've gotten past the high idea phase and now it's implementation and addressing specific challenges. What are you working on now?
Yeah, we have a couple people in the Kilmer Kilmer materials group that are working on setting up kind of an interface for what this is going to look like. I think they're using Power BI or something like this to set that up. So we're hoping to have kind of a prototype within the next couple months here. And so, like you said, this is still under development, but hopefully within the next several months here, we'll get something that we can share and start building on, and I think it'll be really valuable.
No, it sounds very valuable. So I'm looking forward to next steps, and then we'll make a big announcement and take things from there. But thank you so much for working on this. It seems like such a powerful project, and it's honestly, it seems selfless, right? You guys are all getting together and spending your volunteer time really making this happen. But it's also an all ships rise kind of situation. It's going to help every innovator out. So
Absolutely, yeah.
I love to see it. Thank you again, Jami. This is a very cool project.
Thanks for having me, Brian.